Yeah, man. We back. And we back. And we back. And we back. Yeah. Hey, yeah. This ain't no intro. This that entree. Did that intro with Kanye and sound like Andre. Trying to turn my baby mama to my fiance. You know what I'm talking about? Shout out to that boy Chance. That's a throwback from Wayne's World. You know what I'm talking about? But, man, I don't know, man. Let's keep it popping. Let's keep it going. So, relationally, I am in a weird space. I'll say that. I don't, a majority of my life, I've never had many friends. Tell you the truth, going back, I remember when like the 6th, 7th grade, had to be like 6th grade. And actually, it probably was 6th grade. We might, you know what? It was Atwood. So we might have been like 4th, 5th grade. And at the time, my professed best friend, Andrew Johnson, had a party. And I thought he was my best friend. I really did. I thought we both came to this understanding. I remember he had a birthday party and I knew nothing about it. Now, if he sent a card to the house and my granny never, entertained it, that's different. But to my knowledge, I just wasn't invited. And I remember the kids coming back, that Monday talking about the birthday party. And I remember feeling like, yo, fam, like, you really did me like that, yo? Like, I thought we was best friends, yo. Like, why you ain't tell me about the party? Like that's whack, famo. Like, what's your deal? And it seems like in my life, I've dealt with a lack of consistency in friendship. Shout out to D Bro, my boy Donald Browden. Turns out he's my cousin on my daddy's side. So he wasn't even my best friend. He wasn't just my best friend. He was my kinfolk and my cousin. Is my kinfolk and my cousin. But I remember, we both stayed in Sandy Oaks apartments, you know what I'm saying? And this was my dog, like my dog. Like, I don't know what drew us together, but that was just my dog. You know what I'm saying? I tried to fight him like every day. And I don't know why. I just had an anger issue. And this is the funny thing, right? He didn't want to fight me. Like, I guess he was kind of scared of me, but it ain't even about that. Like, because Donald was like, he actually is way bigger than me. He always was. You know what I'm saying? But he was just a loyal dude, and he was a really good friend to me, right? Now, he was a terror to the people in the school. Like, I'm talking about, he stole all the time. Like, he stole from the teachers. He stole from the church. Like, that's what he did. But he never did wrong by me. And, I appreciated that loyalty. I remember he gave me money. Now, true enough, he took the money from his grandma. But, who am I to judge? He looked out for the kid. But, man, I just remember, like, us rocking. I remember he fought somebody for me. He was just a down dude, yo. Like, I can't explain it. My whole life, I've had people around me or close to me that kind of sheltered me in a sense and protected me. Like, it was like, nah, I got it, bro. Or don't nobody even think about touching him. Like, I've had people that guarded me. Like, I can't explain it because I was never like cowardice, so to speak, or anything like that. It was just, I've been surrounded around people who just rock with me. Now, the difference is they would be around for a season and then they would go. You know how people have like lifelong friends? Like, I met this person in the 2nd grade and we've talked every day since. Like, we go on trips every year. I can't say that. I have people who I've known since the 3rd grade. Shout out to Gary Barker. Shout out to Priya Wilson, if I'm not mistaken, is her last name. Or even like Brittany Gilbert, Brittany Hardenette. Like, people like that I've seen knew for a long time. And man, it's interesting, man. Like, friendship has not been a strong suit for me. I've had people who were my partners, like slept at my house, live with me, and we fall out on some stupid stuff, like dumbest thing ever. Or like, hindsight, man, maybe, we just weren't as close as I thought we were. And, it's a mind F, to a certain degree, because it's like, I think my issue in life personally is that I've just never been okay with being alone. Like, I've never just rested in the fact that, well, it's just me and God. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want those physical manifestations of love and support and undying, like, that's my guy, I'm his dude, like, and I'm talking about on a above brow high, like, respect, like, nah, this my dude, bro. Like, nobody better not say a word about him. I just can't say I've experienced that in my life. Friendship has been weird. And I don't know how I feel about it. That's the thing. Like, I experienced this stuff in real time. I think like me and somebody is like really locked in for real, but it's like, it's not really locked in like that. And it's like, it doesn't make me like side eye people or nothing like that. It just kind of like makes me question God in a sense. Cause I'm like, more so like, well, what is this all for? Am I supposed to just be this loner? Am I supposed to be this person who just goes through life kind of being cool and attached to people and not really? People just end up moving weird on me. And I'm not even making that up. I'm not playing a victim. I'm just telling you the truth. People end up moving super weird on me. And it don't ever make sense. Because I'm just like, where did this come from? Like, what did I do? And, I've talked about it before, but just earliest memories of like being alone was like in the bed by myself, and it felt like I wasn't by myself. It was weird. Like, it felt like something was there that made me feel uncomfortable. And it's pitch dark. And then my siblings come upstairs to get into bed with me. The peace comes over me and I'm good. I go to sleep, no problem. So I think for me, I've never just been okay or at peace with the idea of being alone. I think that's why I've made the mistakes or that I've made the choices that I made relationally, because Anthony has never been okay with the idea of being by himself. I've always had siblings around and cousins and come from a big family. But it's almost like the whole Abraham, like, leave your family and your culture and go to a land that I've promised you. But I've been slow to move, and I've never really been okay with the idea of leaving behind the life that I've always known. And I only say that because there were a few times in my life where I was sure God was like, hey, you need to leave. And Abraham was the story that he directed me to. Not that I am Abraham. I think sometimes we go a little far with that stuff. But it was on some like, you need to move. And LA like popped out, like move, like go to LA. And this was a time where I was getting out of doing music with my friends at the time. We fall out. It was less about ministry and more about this seems like selfish proclamation of what they wanted out of it. And we argued over a song and who created it. It was a bunch of nonsense. But at the end of the day, I got away from it. And I was, at that time, I had paid like $300 to create a website and was talking about partnering with other people. Hey, you can put your music on my platform. I'll get a percentage. Like, I was thinking like, okay, how can we make this something where I could leave my job? I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, wanted to be independent, didn't want to work for people, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I got away from that. And then that's when I first came up with Elevated Sense Cloco or whatever. And that literally came out of thin air. I was like, God, show me what I'm supposed to do. Like, give me something. And so I come up with, God kind of inspires this Elevated Sense Cloco or whatever. And then it's almost like one of those moments. And I open the Bible, go to Genesis 11 or whatever. And then I start reading about Abraham and how God told him to go and leave his family and he'll take him to a land that's promised. And I shared it with my ex-wife at the time and she was down for it. But I think something about me never got peace about us to even want to pursue it. So then years later, I get the same itch about going to Atlanta. Go to Atlanta. Atlanta's the place you need to go. Go. At the time, I had a friend and his wife that stayed out there. They were both my friends, but my friend and his wife that stayed out in I think it was Alpharetta or Marietta. I think it was Alpharetta. Either one of them. They both rich towns. But anyway, I had got into acting. I was an extra in a couple movies. I was just moving and shaking, man. I had not that long ago auditioned for The Voice. Everything was moving in this trajectory of making it happen. And then my baby mom was kind of breathing down my neck about it. My daughter was not happy about it at all. And that weighed on me the most. And then I go to the gym to work out one day and I'm telling Kelly about it. And then he starts talking to me about how the industry and I don't need to do it. And he starts kind of crying and he prays and the whole time I'm upset because I don't feel the same way he feels, but I trust him. So I don't move because I feel like I'm angry because I know it took me so long to even trust his word because I don't trust men. I don't trust anybody older who wants to tell me about me. I've been on my own since I was 17. I don't need your words, bro. I don't respect your authority in my life. Not even on some you rule over me, but you have a say so that I trust. So literally he's praying and I'm mad because I'm going to listen to him. I know me. I'm going to listen to him. The few people that are in my life that I trust, I'm going to value their word more than God. That's what it came down to. There have been men in my life, very few, good or bad, that when they speak, I listen. And when they speak, because I've always had this weird dynamic with authority and with men that when there's certain ones that speak, I'll take their word and I'll run with it because at times it's not been clearer than God's word, but it's been taste, touch, see, feel in front of me, if that makes any sense. So I don't go. Then I get the itch again. And this time it's not about anybody talking me out of it. So presently, I have an open bid to go to Atlanta and for the post office. I put it in 2 years ago. And I know it takes a long time for it to come through. I also filled out an application to become a postal inspector, with the post office, which would mean I would have to move. Something about me does not feel comfortable with settling with the idea of living in Texas. Not because Anthony I hate Texas. No, it just seems like I'm this nomad or I'm not supposed to be here. And it never leaves me. It never leaves me. but I've allowed. So just think, let's say the first move that was set up was 5 years ago. Imagine if I'm walking on water and I'm moving the way God has instructed me to move, and I actually go to Atlanta and I make the moves I need to make, and I still get into podcasting, and I get into acting, and I do all these things. I could have already been set up in a way that I could have created this ability to come back, relocate my family, whatever, but I didn't move. And if you know one thing about God, he's no respecter of persons. What he does for one, he'll do for another. He's also looking for vessels. He's not really stuck on you. It's like, are you going to be the conduit that I'll move through? You know, he was angry with Moses when he kept questioning him. And I believe that the Bible says that he sought to kill him. So it's one of those things where I ain't saying God's seeking to kill me or nothing like that, but I'm saying God will move on. And your gift will be used at a minuscule, minute level if you're not careful, if you're not faithful and obedient to move when he says move. Obedience is always greater than sacrifice. Saul missed the mark because he said he was preparing to sacrifice the greatest of the things from the town that God told him to destroy. He kept the greatest of the animals and the greatest of the silver and the greatest of the gold, and he kept the king alive. When God said, destroy everything, lay it to waste. Don't bring anything with you. His heart was disobedient, and God moved on, and he found David, a man after his own heart. One of the things that I brought up before, and I don't know if I talked about it on camera, but my question was, what made David a man after God's own heart? Besides the fact that when he ran into trials and tribulations, some that he brought upon himself, that he always responded in a way that he took accountability and he accepted what his faults were, and he always ran towards God and not away from him. So it made me think, a man that could slay a giant, that took practice to kill lions and bears and all those things that came against the sheep, a man that was masterful with the lyre, that wrote poetry, that praised his way out of his clothes. And when Rachel was indignated with him, he said, I'll be even more undignified before the Lord. You don't just wake up and do that stuff. There's practice. I'm a writer. I had to write. There can be inkling of a skill, but to work at it, you have to master it. You have to work at it. You have to write continuously. So imagine what he was doing when he was down there with the sheep, the poetry he was writing, the songs of praise he was offering up to God, while he was being left out by his father, whom he loved. So think about what David did in his private time when nobody was watching him, when he was just tending to the sheep, that made him a man that was in pursuit of God's heart. With all his frailties, with all his woman issues, God still said he's a man after my own heart. He identified him as that before he ever anointed him as king. Nobody ever talks about that. One of the most interesting facets and dynamics of David's story. But obedience is better than sacrifice. God knew that David would do what he said to do because he had to have already done it before. God ain't finna go shoot the dice and say, well, maybe he'll serve me, maybe he won't. No. God knows the ones who are going to be obedient from those who are going to say no. Think about it. The people said they wanted Saul, not God. The people was like, hey, fam, we want a king like everybody else. God like, what am I, chopped liver or something? What you talking about, fam? What you mean you want another king? I am your king. You don't answer to anybody else. Okay, it's a bet. Samuel like, fam, what y'all doing? He like, no. Squeeze that. You think back to Minister Society. He was like, he said Cain Daddy owed him money. He said, I told you. No, Cain Daddy told the dude he owed him money, and then the dude said, I ain't got it. I told you I pay your monkey ass when I feel like it. Well, what you gonna do? And he pulled the pistol out. And they start trying to, hey, man, put the gun down. Cool, man. Tat, tat, tat with the book. Hey, tat, tat, tat with the, man. And old buddy took it, he pulled up that 40, said, no. Squeeze that, man. What you gonna do? I said, I pay. Boom, don't. Just take you out there movie lane but for a second. But it's like, hey, man. What are you like? Man, listen. God is no respecter. He's looking for those who will be obedient. He knew the cloth that David was cut from long before he anointed him. And what he will do for one, he will do for another. Obedience is better than sacrifice. It's greater than sacrifice. And it didn't just cost Saul his job, it cost him his lineage. He said, if you would have been obedient to me in this regard, I would have kept your name great until the generations. Fam, your name will never not live on as a great. You'll be king. Your lineage will live on forever. But that's the life we live. That's the decisions that we make. And so when you look at your life, when you think about where you're at or where you're not at, besides the fact that you could be greatly distracted, think about the idea of you decided to not do what God told you to do. And so what's going to come from that fruit is less than fruitful. It's not going to be the bamboo tree that you water it for 5 years and then it springs up and it's however tall. No. You're going to get you a little, FICA or something. Because that's what you worked for. So, listen, man. I believe that's it, man. We're approaching an hour. I probably could have cut it short at 30 minutes. Who knows? This might just end up being a part 2. I don't know. I might just put it out all together. But I thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching and listening. If you have anything that you want me to chop it up about, any special requests for topics, any reaction that you have to the video or the audio, please let me know. Please comment below, share it. You know what I'm saying? All those things, man, anything that could help give visibility to the page or to somebody that could benefit from it. We working together on this, yo. This is a joint effort. I'm doing what I believe is purposed in me. I'm not looking for suggestions from people. How the show evolves will not have anything to do with somebody who wants to nitpick at what I do as a content creator or a speaker or a storyteller. I don't care. I just don't. I want to come in the studio and I want to get this stuff off my chest. And I hope and pray that it becomes something that people can grow from and learn. That's it. If notoriety or some form of greater collaboration comes with this, bless God. If not, say la. I'm not tripping. But after all, what do I know? Until next time, life is hard enough. So please don't just live. Live elevated. I love you. May the Lord keep you. See you at the conference. Say la. Peace.